Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So, I've been wrapping up some of the leftover missions for this month's Duelist Cup, and I decided to just kind of chill with Spright for the remainder of it. You know, especially after playing Spright Synchro pretty recently. As much as I do love that variant, and I actually do enjoy playing that variant more than pure Spright, I will admit that, kind of like I was alluding to earlier, it's like there are a lot of times where you feel like the plays that you can make with Spright Synchro are just kind of like slightly weaker versions of what you can make with pure Spright. So, yeah, like I said, it kind of got me in the mood to play this deck again. It's still the same build that we used earlier in the season, and yeah, I just wanted to wrap up those Duelist Cup missions kind of quickly. So, playing a deck that I think is good and that I know well. So I remember at the beginning of the season, Spright was like one of the higher win rate decks, like top 5, I think it was. And it's not quite top 5 at this time still, but it's definitely still up there. I think it's within the top 10, maybe like number 7 or 8 or something. But yeah, I mean, pure Spright, what can I say? It's just like a ton of fun. This is my favorite archetype. And I don't know, I've been thinking about this lately. I'm like, why do I like Spright so much? And I think the reason that I really like Spright is something that I really appreciate in an archetype, which is the fact that, like, you can play it pure, or you can blend it with so many different archetypes, right? Because all you need to have is a level rank and or link 2 in order to start making some amount of Spright plays, right? So you have a lot of deck building opportunities there, a lot of opportunities to be creative. That's always been the thing that I personally value most when it comes to deck building. It's of course why I love pile decks so much, is just finding the lines and the routes and making deck building and engine choices based on what you are expecting to achieve, so on and so forth. I just think it's really cool. But the thing that I really appreciate about Spright as an engine that's kind of like, you know, supplementing other decks is that it doesn't steal their identity, right? Like, you know, I will say that sometimes, I don't know, I was gonna say Mathmech kind of does this, where you'll see Mathmech splash into some decks. I guess it doesn't really steal the identity, because you usually still end on the deck's other stuff. You just add a super factorial, right? I'm trying to think of an example of a deck where, you know, it's like Snake Eye. That's actually a great example. Like, there are so many different decks that you can splash a Snake Eye engine into, right? Like TG in particular is one of the big ones that I think of, where in addition to playing all of TG's like big synchro stuff, you can also just play like a pure Snake Eye package and the Link monsters, right? You really only have to splash like, what, 5 Link monsters, so as long as you have 5 slots in the extra deck, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot, you can play a pure Snake Eye. That said, a lot of the time, your hands are just kind of going to be like, alright, I guess I'll just do like a Snake Eye board, right? So, and then at that point, you kind of ask yourself, like, okay, well, if I'm just having all this extra stuff and making Snake Eye boards, why aren't I just playing Snake Eye? Or like Fire King Snake Eye? Like, why aren't I just playing the stronger variant? So, I guess that's kind of what I mean when I say there are some like engines where you blend them with the deck and they kind of steal their identity, but I don't feel Spright does that the same way a deck like Snake Eye does. I feel like Spright, it only like boosts the end boards, right? Like, you know, tri-brigade Spright is still ending on tri-brigade stuff. The Spright stuff is just helping, right? Spright for hire Runic. Runic's actually another good example. And I know a lot of people don't like Runic, but I feel like that's kind of waning more with time and time because, you know, Joshua Schmidt and popular opinion shifts, and anyway. But, you know, the idea that Runic, again, also boosts, like, think about Runic for higher Spright. Like, yeah, Runic and Spright are there lifting for higher up, but you still focus a lot on the for higher cards. And your main combo piece around drawing so much, of course, partially comes from Fountain, but also there is the draw 3 from the Folgo, I think it's called, the Link 3 or whatever, but, long story short, you know, the for higher cards are, definitely still the centerpiece of a deck like that, so that's why I like Spright. But like I said too, I also like playing Spright pure. I just love all the fun random level 2 monsters you get to play. I never thought I'd see a day where Hero Kid is like not only viable but just straight up good in a competitive deck, and yet here we are in the year of 2024. Again, I love the Nightmare Throne. This was such a huge boost to Spright. And it's funny too, because as soon as I realized this could grab Dark Beckoning Beast, I was like, oh, wait a second. I think I'm at a point where, like, because for a long time, and I'll still say this because it doesn't deserve to be at 1, but like, for a long time, I think what was holding pure Spright back from being better or like more playable than it was Nimble Beaver being at 1. But I'll say this, I think that we're at a point where, because of the Nightmare Throne making the Beckoning Beast so accessible, and between that and Open you have so many 1-card starters, right? Whereas Nimble Beaver, it's like, yeah, if you play 3, that's 3 1-card starters, but the other Nimble cards are not 1-card starters, right? So I think even if Nimble Beaver were at 3, you would definitely just play Beckoning Beast and Nightmare Throne and Opening anyway. Honestly, you'd probably play the Nimble package instead of Hero Kids over that, but I think we're at a point where, as far as like a good starter for the deck, the Beckoning Beast is the far more consistent engine, which is really, really cool. Again, the innovation that you can pull off with Spright. Again, all you need is a level 2. It's a magic number. So, like I said, the build isn't any different. Extra deck, I don't think I would change a single card. I think the only flex slot here, there's debatably 2. Onibimaru and Avermax I would call the flex spots. Avermax, I have been finding as time goes on, I just summon this card less and less often in Spright because of SP just being so much better. It's kind of wild because Avermax is like such a powerful towers monster, but still just the utility of SP is so much greater. Well, not only that, but also SP lets you be a lot more flexible if you have to set starter. Because in the past, if you had to set starter, you would have to like go into IP and Avermax first, and then you could starter because you would 2-lock yourself. But at that point, Avermax is probably the only monster on your field, and now starter for like a red or a carrot doesn't even like really do anything here. But with SP, you can actually like starter earlier in the combo line when it's useful, like starter for red or carrot, sack off an elf that you already used, right? And then later you can IP with the red or carrot you summoned and then still go into SP because it's a link 2. It doesn't matter that you're 2-locked. So yeah, I've been summoning Avermax a lot less as time goes on. So I'm at the point where I'm starting to consider this a flex spot. Onibimaru is also a flex spot, but this card gets you out of a lot of really tight spots that are really difficult to get out of otherwise. So I still like it quite a bit, but yeah, I think I've gushed enough about how much I love Spright, which, I mean, God, is that a surprise to anyone here? All right, let's go ahead and check out some games. All right, starting off with our first duel here. This person is on Yubel, if I recall correctly. I played against a lot of Yubel in this play session. I'm going to take the first turn here. This is a phenomenal opening hand. It's actually not even bad to open the Hero Kid here, because we can still pitch it with opening of the Spirit Gates, potentially. Here, however, the Dark Beckoning Beast is going to get Veilored, so I will say when this happens, it definitely becomes a lot less ideal to have opened the Hero Kid. But the nice thing about playing Spright is that, like, yeah, it might feel kind of, like, janky to have to run the level 2, the, like, random level 2 Hero Kid. It's like, what if you open it, right? But honestly, like, any level 2 monster is an extender for this deck. So, like, I can just normal summon Hero Kid and make plays with it next turn. I think that's actually exactly what we end up doing, but yeah, even though we do lose a lot of bodies off of the Dark Beckoning Beast getting negated, I can still go into the Elf here. And then into the Melfi, after the Gigantic, of course, for Blue and Jet. Melfi of the Forest, we're going to grab the Melfi Caddy. 75% win rate at time of appearance for Melfi of the Forest is pretty cool, but makes sense because it appears pretty late into both Spright and Melfi combo lines. But I don't know about Melfi. I could see it being a kind of a starter for Melfi, potentially, but it's been so long since I played a straight-up Melfi deck. I think I only played a straight-up Melfi deck, like, right when Wally first came out. I might have to revisit that. Okay, so here's their Nightmare Throne. I'm not going to try to negate it, but I will Elf for Carrot here. They're going to call by. Grabbing the Carrot here because we already have a monster negate in the form of Valor in our hand, so alright, let's see what they get. They actually end up grabbing the Beckoning Beast, which is a little surprising. I was expecting the Lotus, but that just makes me suspect they have the Lotus in hand. So they actually go for the draw 2 here with a triple attack, which I do kind of think this was a misplay. I was really, really scared they were going to try to steal here. That would be very, very bad for me, because they could take my IP, and even if I chain IP and try to go into like SP or something, they can just take that instead. This also doesn't target, so even going into Avermax would not prevent it from getting stolen here. But yeah, I think Draw 2 is probably the mode I go for on triple attack the least. Well, it's so situationally dependent, right? Which makes it a difficult card to play sometimes. But here I think Steel, Take Control is definitely the better option than Draw 2. So I'm going to try to Valor their Dark Beckoning Beast like they did mine, but they actually have the Sharvara in hand to pop it. So it will still resolve for the search, which is a little annoying, but at least they still only have one body on the board. Also going to go for the Melfi here. I'm going to bounce the Caddy to my hand to add the Penny, and then of course use Penny in order to go for the Herald of the Arclight. This is actually a situation where Merry Melfi's would have been pretty good, and I have played that card in the past. That is another card you can play in one of those flex spots, potentially. Like, I'm at a point where I kind of think Merry Melfi's might be better in the extra deck than Avermax. Kinda. I would need to do more testing. Alright, so after I negate their opening, they're going to go for the Typhone, which, by the way, negating the opening was not a very easy decision there. I did have to think about it for a moment, but I ultimately decided that because if it was just going to revive, right, if it was just going to do the discard to bring the monster back, I think I could SP and still keep the Herald and stop their plays. But because it threatened to search and revive, it was a little bit too much. I had to Herald it there. So they go for Typhone. That is completely fine with me. That's 100% okay because they can no longer summon this turn. And we can just make an SP and banish the Typhone. Easy peasy. Typhone's kind of another low-key reason why I think Avermax is not as good anymore. They do still get to set off Sharvara, but Escape and nothing else is nothing, so... Alright, they only have one card in hand. We only have the Hero Kid, but like I said, even a random level 2 monster is enough to make plays. I'm gonna overlay the SP and the Hero Kid to go for the Gigantic. From here, I'm gonna use the Gigantic Spright effect to go for the blue. Blue for Jet. Jet's gonna grab the Gamma Burst, and that should be lethal there. I was a little concerned about the last card being a hand trap, but even if it was, we have the Imperm here. We know their last card is dead, so even if they top deck a live play, Imperm should more than likely be enough to stop it, so. And there we go. I would say that's a pretty solid, pretty average Spright game. Well, pretty average Spright win, I should say. But yeah, very good stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next duel here. Okay, so this game is also going to be against Yubel, and this one, this one's a doozy. It's a nice bit of a back and forth. It's a 12-turn game we're about to see here. So, once again, I'm going to be taking the first turn. Once again, a phenomenal opening hand on our part. We did open the Hero Kid, which again is not super ideal, but and yet again, our Dark Beckoning Beast is going to get negated. So, yeah, if we could grab these openings, pitching the Hero Kid would be perfect, because then we could just revive it off of Elf, but they keep negating the Beckoning Beast here, so... Gonna blue for Jet, Jet for the starter. And I think here, yeah, this game I decided to sprint for the Hero Kid setup anyway, because I had the ability to make the Gigantic because I had the Jet here, right? And it's like, even though I only break even in bodies, like this doesn't net gain me bodies because I already have one of the Hero Kids in hand, I decided to do this for deck thinning, because, I don't know, I just had the thought of, I'd really hate to top deck another Hero Kid. Like, that would be pretty not great here, so... I don't know. It's kind of debatable, I think, if this was right or not. This does let me set up the... Oh, no, I would be able to do this anyway, never mind. I thought I was going for Gigantic here for some reason. I'm thinking of a different game I played where... I guess it's actually another game we're going to see here, but... I'm going to start it for the Carrot for another material to go into the IP. And then, of course, we'll set Call By. So, Elf, IP, Caddy, Call By, Ash, Blossom. That's not bad. With the potential to revive Red or Carrot with Elf. That's an average, I'd say, Spright end board. So, okay, here my opponent actually played extremely well. I have to give them mad props here, because they baited me hard. So they set a card and went to end the main phase. So I was like, I wasn't sure what I was up against, right? I'm like, okay, I'll just Elf for the Carrot here. And that's when they super poly, because now they can, because before I had 3 different attributes in play. But if I revived either Carrot or Red here, and now I have 2 fires. So, I gotta give a golf clap to my opponent. Very, very well played. Very, very well played. They also pitched a Yubel Ultimate Nightmare, which is definitely worth noting here. So, on the Summon of Garura, I'm gonna Caddy for Penny. Now, here... I did this even though I knew I was going to have to go into SP anyway, again for deck thinning, because again, I saw a world where I top deck Penny, not even necessarily next turn, but just at some point in this duel, and I really did not want that to happen. And given how grindy of a game this ended up being, I'm actually pretty glad that I deck thinned out these Pennies and Hero Kids. Now, I'm also going to call by the Ultimate Nightmare in addition to banishing the Gruer here, because I did not want my opponent to be able to summon a Phantom, right? Alright, they're going to pass over to me. We grabbed the opening here, which is a pretty good top deck. I'm going to use that to activate and go for a Dark Beckoning Beast. Go for the normal summon on that, activate to add another opening. I really would have liked to have kept my SP here, but I ultimately decided to go into the Elf. Because I kept getting priority, like, priority kept passing over to my opponent, so I was very convinced at this point that the back row was an imperm. So, I wanted to kind of play around that a little bit here. So, blue for Jet, move for Battle Phase. I have exact lethal with the Gamma Burst, but they do have Spirit, which I think this was actually another, I don't know. I was about to say minor misplay, but I should have thought more about Spirit. I wasn't even really thinking about Spirit at all, to be totally honest with you. I did not consider it when making this attack, which is something you do need to think about when you're battling into Yubel's open board. Yeah, so them having the Spirit there caused us to miss lethal at that point. But we're still in a pretty decent spot. I'm going to go for the Onibi Soul Sweeper to banish the Spirit, but they have another Super Poly is what the back row ends up being, so that's pretty brutal here. Them having this sequence of cards was very, very, very not good for me. But again, there were also a couple of points where I could have debatably played a little bit better as well, especially knowing that I was up against Yubel. So I'm going to pass back over to them. Now, they are in top deck mode here. Looks like they're going to find a Yubel and then go for the Phantom off that, as well as overlaying the Typhoon on top of the Loving Defender. This is going to give them a battle to body over with. But more than that, it is also going to make one of my outs here, Zeus, not nearly as viable. Blue is an excellent top deck here. I'm going to go for the opening for the Dark Beckoning Beast. Now I can normal summon the Beckoning Beast, activate the effect here to grab my third opening. Going to special the blue. Blue effect will add a red. Now I can special the red, opening, pitch opening to bring back a Beckoning Beast. From here, I'm going to overlay two of my Beckoning Beasts into the Shadow Mosquito. This is going to be my Zeus pilot. But here's the thing, right? If I try to just go Battle and then Zeus, I have two things messing me up with that. Typhoon and Phantom of Yubel, but Typhoon especially. Of course, that's very thematic, Typhoon being a counter to the Zeus here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my other two monsters to go into the Gigantic, right? And then I'm going to use Gamma Burst Graveyard Effect to boost the Gigantic by 1400, just enough to battle over the Typhoon. Now, I can activate the Gigantic effect to bait out the Phantom of Yubel, which will pop the Spirit, and then Spirit will summon OG Yubel. Now I can overlay the Downerd and Zeus on top of the Shadow Mosquito here. And I'm not even really incentivized to use one of my board wipes right away, because OG Yubel doesn't really do anything by itself, and like, regardless if this is on the field or in their graveyard, they can still make another Phantom of Yubel here, so. And sure enough, that is exactly what they're going to do with their graveyard materials. And they got the Nightmare Throne too! Ugh, the top deck! Alright, so I'm going to have to use my Zeus here. Of course, they are going to chain the Phantom, but then I get to, of course, chain the Zeus again, so I just really can't have them making plays here, and it's like, I either stop this now or I board wipe later while they have more stuff in the yard, which is more fodder for more Phantoms, and yeah, I'm just going to do this now. Again, the Spirit is going to summon out OG Yubel, which again by itself doesn't really do much. In fact, doesn't do anything. So we're going to have to go for a Phantom. Their third Phantom and then pass here. Can we please limit this card? Oh, Phantom of Yubel is so frustrating. Gonna top deck and set the call by and pass. Again, if this card had simply just had a you can only summon one of this per turn clause, it'd be 100% fine. But because that doesn't, I think we have to limit it now. And I don't like the idea of errating it at all. I think erratas are horrible for the game for many reasons, but that's like its own video discussion at that point. Alright, so here they're going to go for the Yama. definitely see what they're up to here. They're going to Yama to add the Sharvara. Alright, opening effect is going to activate here. However, they do only have one target, just the one Dark Beckoning Beast. The Phantoms cannot be summoned here, so thankfully we get to call by away their only target. And what did they discard? They discarded the Beckoning Beast they added, of course. Yeah. No, sorry, the opening they added, not the Beckoning Beast, that one. So we know this is a Sharvara in hand. Ash Blossom, not a bad top deck. I can go to battle and hit over the Yama here. Things are kind of looking up for me now. It's just going to super... Of course, we're both in top deck mode, but Ash Blossom is not bad in a top deck war because it stops a lot of really good top decks. So, okay, they get to pass back over to me. We find a Nightmare Throne. Unfortunately, I'm out of Beckoning Beast, so that doesn't do anything here. And that is my only target. So I'm just going to hold on to it here. Alright, if I can just top deck a monster next turn, it'll be all set. But they have the Gruesome Grave Squirmer, which they get to pop to Specialty Sharvara. They can Yama here, specialing the Yubel and then popping. I see them trying to go for Ultimate Nightmare, so I'm going to Ash Blossom the Yubel effect here, because Ultimate Nightmare would just be a board wipe in. I really don't have any threats left at all after Zeus. My last two cards in the extra are Avermax and Almirage, so they do still get to bring back the Yubel here, unfortunately, with the Grave Squirmer, and then they get to use Opening to add back to add the opening, you know, with the continuous spell effect. So yeah, now here they can just go for the Yama effect to add back the Sharvara. At this point they can make an SP to banish the Zeus, or actually just to go for lethal, they can what they end up doing is going for the Unchained Soul of Anguish. This lets them use my Zeus as material and go straight into the Axis code, which will finish me off this turn. So yeah, this game was very, very good. Even though I did end up losing it, I had to include a 12-turn back-and-forth game like this. And really, there were so many factors working against me here. The Spirit of Yubel in hand, which I should have played around. The 3 Phantom of Yubel, which should be limited. And then the top decks from the opponent were pretty crazy as well. But you know what? It's still the kind of back-and-forth game that I love about the game and why I play Yu-Gi-Oh! So we still love to see it. All right, we got one more duel we're going to finish off with here, and we're going to end off with that. Okay, this last duel is going to be a pretty short one. Admittedly, it might be a little anticlimactic compared to that last one. But again, a 12-turn back and forth with Yubel. There's not a lot that would feel quite as climactic as that. So we're actually going... Oh no, we're going first here. I thought this was going second game. But gonna start with the Hero Kid here and then special out the red. It's only then where my opponent activates Max C. So I guess this was kind of the main interaction that made me want to show this game as more of a cautionary tale than anything else, right? It's so easy to see normal summon a random monster like Hero Kid, and like, if you don't recognize that this card is played in Spright, you'd probably be like, what is this? What the hell? Like, why did my opponent just normal summon this? Honestly, if you're ever feeling unsure about a random normal summon and you have Max C, I would just fire it off, because, like, aside from just here in this situation, it's a level 2 where I can special summon sprites which don't start a chain link, you never know if your opponent's gonna, like, link it off for a link one, right? Like a random link one you've never heard of. So, plus if they've committed a monster to the board, Gamma is not live for them anymore. So, that's kind of my, like, little bit of hand trap advice right here for this duel. And I definitely wanted to show that off here because, of course, when they Max C while the red is on the field, I can just use the red to negate. Now, granted, this does actually play around me not having another Spright monster in hand, but unfortunately for them, I just didn't, so... So that's to say, like, I don't know. I understand why my opponent did not Max C in response to Hero Kid, but I think even if you didn't... Again, if you don't know what's going on, it's just... The safe play there is just to activate Max C. Because again, even if you didn't know it was Spright, it could still be like a random link one, so... Feeling pretty good about this combo here now. I get to use the Hero Kid to its full potential, and then go into my Spright plays. Going to go into the Melfi of the Forest as well. As well as sitting on the Max C and Nib is also not bad. I was actually a little bit anxious here. I'm very playing into the Max C there. Like, I'm very glad we were able to red when we did, because, like, this is one of those hands where I saw Max C and the Nib, right? And I was like, you know, these are good. It's good to open Engine and hand traps, but turn 1, you really want to open Ash Blossom or just something to stop Max C, right? So, Yeah, it's a pretty quick duel. They're going to concede right into the face of that, so... Like I said, kind of anticlimactic, but I did still get a chance to talk about what I wanted to with activating Max C there and why it's important to do it, even when you're a little bit unsure if they've already committed a random monster you've like never seen before to the board. Maybe my opponent did know what was up, but I feel like if they did though, you would just see like, oh, level 2, yeah, chain Max C right now. I'm at that point where if I see a random level 2 monster in normal summon, I'm like, all right, chain Max C. So yeah, that's gonna go ahead and do it for this one. Thanks so much as always for watching. Let us move to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's again free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up and it all definitely means the world. So thank you each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.